Hello there and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at Alpine. This is not the maximum weight challenge, this is a one season challenge that we're going to get started on hard with Alpine, as I want to have a bit of a benchmark we can expect in terms of how much are we actually going to get hampered by a maximum weight challenge that will be starting sometime next week. But for today, we're going to do the one season challenge, see if we can take the title in the first season with Alpine on hard difficulty. That is going to be the goal, and then we'll later compare the cars to each other, basically the cars from this, the cars from Max Weight Challenge, to see just how much of a gain the weight actually has to offer your car. Now, as I mentioned, this is a one season challenge. We are going to be trying to win the title within this first season. That should be pretty straightforward. If you do enjoy these types of videos, please do like and subscribe, as that helps me out a ton. But with that said, let's just get started. So Alpine starts basically middle of the pack here with a car that is fifth best on paper, pretty much. Very much perfectly centered of the grid. Could argue that it's the sixth best car, but basically fifth, sixth. It's up there. So it's not a bad car by any means of the imagination. Now, we're going to start developing this car pretty rapidly here, and the goal is going to be fairly straightforward. We want to try and have a new car by the time we reach Baku. There's a small break here after the Australian Grand Prix, and by Baku we want to try and have every part of the car refurbished, redesigned into a more specialized version of themselves. To start off with, we're going to get started here with the underfloor, which we are going to be investing safety time into. It's just in my opinion, the best thing to invest safety time into early, since it's basically good at everything, not really weak at anything, so it's a good starter. And we basically have a choice to make here. We can sacrifice some top speed in order to get more cornering, or we can sacrifice some cornering in order to get more top speed. And what I think we're going to do here is a little bit of a mix of that. So this first underfloor with CFD, we're going to keep the drag reduction to a maximum. This way we'll get a little bit more drag reduction onto the next piece, which we're going to make. Because the way to get the maximum kind of effect, I guess you could say, out of your car is going to be to use CFD time, and then another design after you use your CFD time to really see the gains. Basically, CFD doesn't have the show all its effects on the first design, it'll show it on the second. Now, other than that, we are, as I said, going to make everything, so I think we're going to get started on the sidewall and chassis combination, and the reason why we're doing this is because we don't have a lot of brake cooling, we don't have a lot of engine cooling, so when we make suspension and front wing, we want to make those as a pair. When we make chassis and side pods, we want to make those as a pair, just so we can actually kind of balance the engine cooling and the brake cooling a little bit, and not lose too much. So let's get started with side pods, which is the most efficient way of getting engine cooling. And what I'm thinking here is that we are going to be focusing this one into both the airflow for cornering and engine cooling itself. And then we're going to sacrifice some drag reduction. Now, what this is going to do is pretty straightforward. We're going to basically get a lot of cornering. We're going to get a lot of engine cooling. We're going to lose a little bit of speed. But what we're going to be doing on the chassis instead is the inverse, where we sacrifice cooling for top speed. And they should, I believe, somewhat cancel each other out. We're also going to go ahead and rush this so we can get get everything made by the time we go into the Baku GP. And we actually have a lot of money here as Alpine that we start with, so that does make our life a lot easier in terms of the choices that we can make. As I said, we're going to do the inverse as we did to the side pods here. We're going to max drag reduction, limit engine cooling, max the airflow. And as you can see, we lose about 8.57% engine cooling, but we gain 10% from the side pods. So it's a net gain of 1.5 percentage points. 50 isn't too great, but it's good enough for our intents and purposes. We do gain a little bit of top speed here. It's actually less than we are losing, but even then, they kind of cancel each other out. We could focus on just the high speed cornering there, and we'd get a decent chunk more. So maybe, just maybe, we'll end up making two different chassis here down the road. We'll have to see what we kind of want to do. Now, next up, because as I said, I want to make the suspension and the front wing kind of side by side, because they do the same thing. But what I think we are going to do is actually make the suspension first, because again, it takes longer to make. Rear wing, front wing takes 3 days to manufacture. So usually I do those last for that reason. We want to basically have more time to manufacture the components rather than spending time, rather than designing the front wing and rear wing early. and wasting a bit of manufacturing time. I think this is what we'll do with the suspension. We'll be focusing on the low-speed cornering ability, we'll be focusing on the brake cooling, the airflow front, and as a result of that, we'll lose a little bit of top speed. This is very minor loss, so we can kind of be happy with it. Lose a little bit of high speed, we'll gain a ton of low-speed cornering, and a lot of brake cooling. And even then, we might end up focusing brake cooling a little bit on the front wing. We'll have to see. 9% extra is going to bring up to 56%, which should be good. But this is basically opening moves here. Within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to have all 4 of these components finished. We're going to have to make a secondary underfloor, of course. But this should make it very easy to get some development done for the car. Now, as I said, we are kind of middle of the pack here. So we're just going to be heading into Bahrain. We're going to be heading into the Saudi Arabian GP. And let's face it, we're not going to get any upgrades for both of these races. So we'll do them very quickly. We'll probably do a little bit of summarization to see how we perform. But I think we'll be happy as long as we score points with both drivers here. I think that would be a good one. Now, in terms of our drivers here, we might as well have a quick look. I'm not planning to replace either of them. Ocon has probably not the absolute best pace stats here, but he is fairly balanced, with the only outlier being accuracy, so it's not a bad choice. And I think for him, we're going to be focusing here on probably long runs. Smoothness is, in my opinion, the most important driver stat at the moment, so we want to get that up. And that does work out pretty well for Gasly here. High smoothness, high control. Shame about the adaptability, really. Decent pace stats as well. A little bit of lacking accuracy there, but we can make that. We can make that work. See, we have an accuracy and smoothness set up here. And honestly, we could go wet track. I think we're fine with the accuracy that we currently have. I would rather get some more points into smoothness, as that'll give us probably more time. So yeah, that's how we're going to set up our drivers. In terms of the rest of the staff here, we have a technical chief who isn't the best if you compare him to the rest of the grid, but he'll get the job done. We have a decent head of aerodynamics. We have decent engineers. Good sporting director here in Permain. So can't really complain too much about this staff. With that said, though, the next step that we're going to do is just jump directly into the Bahrain Grand Prix, and we'll have a little bit of a dive there to see exactly how we're stacking up against the rest of the grid and the growth that we're going to be experiencing going into Baku. So here we are, qualifying 10th and 12th, which is basically on where we wanted to qualify. Gasly didn't have the best run, but Ocon did manage to get to Q3, so that is good enough for us. The strategy, we're going to go with a very aggressive medium stint into 2 lighter soft stints, so we'll be capable of attacking towards the end of each stint. It's going to be slightly quicker than the base strategies, but let's face it, it's not by much, 5, 6, 7 seconds. But even then, I think it's going to be worth it for us. Gasly does have pretty high smoothness. Ocon isn't too far behind. So hopefully by doing this, we can maybe get both cars into the points. That's going to be the hope at least. A lot of cars here starting on soft tires, which is basically the better tire around here. So we'll see how that turns out for them. But for us, we've gone with pretty standard strategy here, I do feel. We'll see how that turns out, as Ocon and Gasly are, well, Gasly in particular, has a rather bad start here, getting overtaken by Norris and Albon. We'll have to make that, we'll have to make a bit of a comeback with that. Magnussen on all the tires ahead of us. But yeah, we'll have to see how this turns out. I think our goal here, as I said, is just going to be to get both cars on the points. Unless we have incidents, I think the Red Bulls, the Ferraris, the Aston Martins, and the Mercedes are going to take the top 8 places unless something happens. And our fight is going to be most likely, for the most part, with the Haas team. So let's see what we can do here, and if we can score our first points in our first race. We're getting close to the first pit stop here. Pit stop window has been entered indeed. Gasly's made his way back up to 12th, but is most likely going to be able to potentially cause a little bit of trouble here with Norris as Tsunoda locks up. But yeah, Ocon is catching up to Magnussen now, who is getting slower. Medium's being kind of burnt here. And our strategy, I think, is going to be fairly simple. We're going to be pitting with a lot of the medium tire left. We just want to get into the pits early, do our own little thing, and I think that's going to benefit us more in the long term than us staying out until we've burnt these mediums completely. So that's going to be the idea. Let's see if we can actually make something happen with that. But yeah, Ocon has done a good job. We'll be pitting within the next couple of laps. will be coming out towards the back of the grid, of course. But that shouldn't be a good, much of a problem. Gasly has recovered most of his confidence, but even then he has a little bit of a confidence issue. As we see both Tsunoda and Sargent pit now. So I'm thinking that if we want to take advantage, pitting now and going onto the soft tire probably is going to benefit us more than staying out. And we have just about enough of a gap here that we should be able to double stack. It's early season, we don't have any fatigue. So the odds of this going badly is very, very low. So we're going to take the opportunity. We're going to pit a little bit earlier. And hopefully that'll give us some benefits towards the latter end of this race, as Ocon and Gasly both have decent pit stops. Ocon comes out ahead of Show and Piastri. Gasly comes out behind. But we still need to get temperature into these tires. And we'll have to see if we can overtake Norris, overtake Magnussen again once they do their pit stops. So currently the first set of pit stops has been done for the most part. I believe everyone has pitted, and they have. Stroll is the exception. But as you can see, we're currently running 9th, just a couple of seconds behind Russell and Hamilton. And Gasly's running 11th, a good 4 seconds behind Magnussen. But pitting early, it seems to work to our advantage. We'll have to see though. We are going to be pitting again. So if we have a good final pit stop, if we can push at the end of this pit stop, maybe, just maybe, we could potentially tangle a little bit with the Mercs. Russell is currently running the medium tire, so maybe we'll catch up to him. I kind of doubt it, to be fair. But our fight is going to be with Magnussen for basically trying to get both of our cars into the points. So we have been pushing. Gasly has actually caught up to Magnussen and just overtook him as we are getting prepared to do our final pit stop here. As you can see, we were allowed to attack at the end of our stint. Good 6, 7, maybe 8 laps tire available to us for attacking. And with that, I'm thinking that maybe we get Ocon in on this lap just to make sure that we don't go under 30%. And that should be fine. And I think also getting Gasly in wouldn't be a terrible idea. But he has enough tire here that he can stretch it for one more lap. And that is exactly what we'll do. As Magnussen now does actually pit alongside Ocon. So this could be bad. We'll have to see if we stay ahead once we come out of these pit stops. As Hulkenberg is currently running 20th. And is holding up Gasly a little bit. But by the looks of it, we will potentially here be able to fight Magnussen by the end of this. He's going onto the medium tire. So he's going to be just ever so slightly slower than us. And hopefully we'll be able to take advantage of that in the long run here. As Hamilton flies by Gasly. We are going to come out ahead of Magnussen. Just about here into the corner. Question is if we can stay ahead. Probably not. Magnus is going to have DRS. We're going to have cold tires. But staying behind Magnussen to heat up the tires, save a little bit of fuel, is not necessarily a bad thing. We'll see how this evolves over the last 20 laps or so. We've had an incident here with Ocon. Luckily, it's not super serious, but it's not great. He's had a bit of a sailing lockup, is the best way I can describe it. And as you can see here, gap to Magnussen isn't great. There's just 4 laps remaining, however. So by running the tires on light, I do think that we'll be fine here. Now, it does look pretty much like we're going to be finishing 9th and 10th, so that's at least a few points for our charge from the get-go. Provided, of course, we can keep Magnussen at bay. And honestly, let's be honest here. I don't see us catching, by any means of the imagination, Russell or Stroll at the moment. They have 11 seconds ahead of us. We have basically 3 laps to go. Not really too much we can do there. And what we're going to do is kind of try and manage Gasly's tires in order to give Ocon a little bit of an extra tow, just to be on the safe side here for Magnussen. But this is kind of what we expected, to be fair, with a car with no upgrades, that we're going to be finishing best of the rest, 9th to 10th. It's points at least. So yeah, it is as expected. Now, because of this, I don't think we're going to be seeing any different results in Jeddah. We're not going to be getting any upgrades before Jeddah, so we'll be kind of skipping that a little bit. But by Australia, we might have some upgrades, so let's see what we end up doing there. For now, though, let's just finish this quickly, and then we will jump into Jeddah itself. We do have, I believe, a couple of upgrades that we need to have a look at, though, before we get there.
Check a flag this time.
But yeah, we managed 9th and 10th. We can be very, very happy with that. As I said, it's a good starting point. I don't know why it showed Piastri, but it did. So yeah, 9th and 10th for our first race here. And the Red Bulls 1-2. That's going to make them kind of hard to catch, but it's kind of also what you do expect at the start of the season. It does not come as a big surprise. Now, we did fail here a little bit of performance guarantees here because I was being very hopeful. I'll be honest, I thought we were going to get both cars into Q3. I had a little bit of a hope on that we might be able to eke it out. Also, financially, we aren't really pressured to, we don't have to make conservative choices. And as you can see, all 4 of these designs are going to be done for the next race in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, carbon inspection results, everything passed. ATR starts today, which means that we're going to be setting up a new ATR period. Just a little bit of a moment. But I want to have a quick look at the pit crew. We'll be developing them also throughout this season. And as you can see, we're going to have to go to probably Wednesday before we can start doing anything. But we'll set up some training here to lower error chances. I still believe that is the best investment that you can do since you get the more back for it. But you should still try and manage the estimated pit stop time a little bit if you can. At least keep it where it is, if not lower it directly. That's probably going to be a little bit more difficult though. And I do believe I'm happy with this, even though this is probably a little bit too high. So let's go ahead and skip that in practice before Saudi Arabia. So yeah, going to Saudi Arabia here, we're going to lower the mistake a little bit, but we're not capable of keeping the pit stop time down. So we're going to have to work on that before Australia. But yeah, the upgrades here are coming in. Going to get them in a row. Chassis has been completed, and we're just going to go ahead and manufacture at least 2 of them right away. Important attributes for Jeddah. We're not going to get these before Jeddah. We're not even going to be getting them before Melbourne. We could rush them. Honestly, we can do one normal and then rush the other one. That way we have them before Melbourne, which would actually be kind of good. But to make this viable, we're also going to need to get the side bolt before that. And I didn't actually realize this. This is a bit of a slip-up of my part. But with the money that we have, we should have started the upgrade for the factory day 1. I didn't. We wasted about 20 days of that upgrade. But it is what it is. We'll just have to deal with that. So yeah, that was the chassis. Suspension. Let's go ahead and have a quick look. Go ahead and manufacture this one as well, but that would be emergency. Because apparently the factory is shut down today. So we're not going to do that. Let's see. Can I get the rear wing and the front wing going? Now, which one do we want to invest CFD time into? Do we want to do front wing? Or do we want to do rear wing? I think we do front wing. We just focus more on the cornering ability rather than anything else. And then we maybe do suspension after that. So for the front wing, we're going to focus on low speed, medium speed cornering, sacrifice the high speed. We're not going to care about airflow sensitivity. We're going to go with airflow front. And I do still want these to last a few races. So we put in a little bit extra weight on them. But yeah, this is a pretty significant loss, honestly. We're gaining about 9% brake cooling, I believe, from the other one. So while we could sacrifice some, having just 50% brake cooling is not really great, but it's not tragic either. And the gains are huge. Now, let's face it, we're not going to be using this front wing necessarily. We're going to be using the front wing we make after this one. So we can do this as a bit of an experiment, just focus a little bit extra. Or we can do what we are doing with the underfloor, where we are focusing on top speed as well, but we might not do it for the final edition. I think that would be a good idea for the front wing as well. Do it like this. Put as many engineers as we can on it, because we are going to need to, well, make a bunch. We're going to need to have 1 engineer available though, because we need to start the rear wing as well. And for that one, a lot easier. Focus drag reduction, focus DRS delta, turn down everything else. And that should be good. We're going to be pretty low here on the dirty air tolerance at the end of this, which could be a little bit bad. But getting 0.9 kph boost here is going to be massive. Our DRS is going to be the best. But the dirty air tolerance is going to go down. And again, the main limiting factor with dirty air, in my book, or at least that I see it, is that you're going to have a bad time at rain races. That is the biggest issue. So it'll still be fine. We are going to go ahead and rush this. That way we'll get it done way before Baku. Give us a little bit more wiggle room in case we need to, in case we struggle with manufacturing time. So that is okay. And let's see, is the factory still closed? Can we now make an underfloor? No, it's still under emergency manufacturing, unfortunately. So we're probably going to have to wait for tomorrow before we actually start making these things. As you can see, facility is unavailable due to sponsor obligations. which is one of the things that I do hate the most about this game, to be fair. But it's supposedly directified going into 24. That is going to be good. Now, if we were to do this, we did focus on top speed on the last one. We would get 44, 61, 83, which is huge gains in all of these. That would actually make us the best team in terms of high speed. Would make us fourth best team in terms of medium. Fourth best, well, sorry, third best, fourth best. So it would be a slice of luck with this as well. Do I want to sacrifice some of that cornering for 50 kph top speed, though? I think we do. We're not losing a lot of low speed cornering, just 0.006. We're losing a lot more of that medium speed at 0.1. Same for the high speed, really. But I think the half a kph extra top speed is kind of worth it in that regard. Now, we need this done before Baku. It takes about 10 days to make each one. So we're going to go ahead and rush this one too. Again, manufacturing capacity is going to be a bit of an issue. So we're spending a lot of cost cap. We're spending a lot of money here at the start of this season just to make sure that we get everything that we need basically immediately. And that is kind of okay by me. Now, hopefully now we can start manufacturing some of these things, and we can. Getting underfloors before Melbourne, I think we're just going to skip them because we'd only use them for one race anyways. So getting the side posts up and running would be good. Can get them done in 16 days. We're actually going to be able to fit that on the car for Melbourne, so we're just going to do 2 of them normally. Because we do want to get the chassis out as well. And the suspension here is also something that we want to get out fairly quickly, so do 2 of them. That means we'll have both side pods, suspension, and probably just 1 chassis available at the next race weekend. But that is enough for me. And I think what we're going to do here is actually start investing a little bit into the suspension already. Doing it like this. Brake cooling, airflow, top speed, low speed, and drag reduction. Well, medium speed, low speed, drag reduction. As this is going to give us a better suspension once we actually do invest CFD time into it. Probably next time we have it available. And 40 days is good for that. 35 days, 46 days, I think, is the next CFD period. So that does kind of work to our advantage here. But we are getting ready with basically how the client's going to be set up initially. But for now, as I did mention earlier, Saudi Arabia is going to be a bit of a write-off, so I'll give you a quick summary once it's done. But I'll jump right in and see how it goes. So Jeddah starts a little bit interesting here, as we might have been getting a little bit of a blessing. Paris has sent its car into the wall, and as a result, we have a bit of a red flag here, and I don't think there's enough time to really get the session restarted, which means that we are starting 6th for Ocon. That's fairly high. And we're also starting 11th here for Gasly, and he's even beaten out Hamilton. So, pretty good start here for Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. Still no upgrades on the car. Let's see if we can actually capitalize on it.
Turn 17.
Unfortunately here, we have...
and ends up in the wall. Well, following a crash like that, it'll be important now.
We have a bit of a bad moment here at Jeddah with Ocon finding the wall. That sucks, but it happens. And as you can see, we're running 8th and 9th with actually a good chance that I think of catching 7th place potentially before this retirement. But with just 13 laps to go, 12 laps to go, while soft tires probably would be the best bet, I doubt we can run them full attack. They'll just degrade super quick. So I think what we're going to be betting on here is a fresh set of mediums and the capability of running them full attack. Like, we could probably run these for 10 laps full attack, but it's the risk. Basically the risk. I feel it's not worth it. So we're going to go with the medium tire. But yeah, just so you can have a little bit of a look here. Everyone basically had pitted. 74% mediums is what we're at. Stroll's tires are going off. Sainz tires are going off. And it was about just 12 seconds up to Sainz. So if we had a good time here, maybe we could have made something happen there. Maybe we could have climbed a little bit up. But we'd have to see. Hamilton had a bit of his own little moment there that put him further to the back of the grid. But very unfortunate that we did have Ocon here get sent off the track. So we'll have to handle that somehow. But yeah, everyone here is on the soft compound. As you can see, there's some used soft compounds, some basic soft compounds. And what I want to see here now is just have I made the right choice? I think the softs would have made it to the end, but I'm just a little bit uncertain, and I didn't want to gamble for that reason. But by looks of this, yeah, they would just about have made it to the end. So potentially a bad choice for me, but I want to see what is the difference between, say, the softs and the mediums here in terms of pace. If we go full attack, mediums give us a little bit more wiggle room. And again, we have one more lap that we need to take count for. It's also been about a second quicker, so they'd also be probably dead by the end of this. So not really much difference between the tires, luckily, and that's kind of what I would have thought too. Not the best start there by Gasly. He's under threat from the from Hulkenberg immediately, but we do manage to retain, and this does actually give us a bit of a chance here too to do a somewhat of an upset potentially. We're just going to keep on pushing it till the end is the basic idea, and everyone else will too. And as you can see, Paris might be in trouble with how high Deg is. Hamilton might be in trouble. Hulkenberg might be in trouble. So we might be able to take advantage of the fact that most other cars are using older softs. So we'll have to see how much Deg they have, and as I said, if we can take advantage. For now though, we'll speed things up, we'll manage, and we'll see how this looks when we get close to the end, as we already do a bit of a lunge there on Stroll. He does get the place back, but you get the idea. We might be able, just about, to do a few cheeky things here in order to just maybe get more than 8th place. And we have another incident. This time it's a safety car, as Russell has crashed.
We've had a crash. What happened there?
It's a bad weekend from Mercedes. Did he?
Along the straights here.
I don't know if he touched Stroll, because that could be very, very important if he did. That could be a penalty for him. But by the looks of it, he crashed on his own. But this again does put us into a position where we might be able to launch a bit of a surprise attack.
Safety car.
On the other side, this does benefit the soft runners more than anything. But yeah, we will just jump ahead until we get to the end of this safety car. Safety car is coming in. Basically, it's going to be 4 laps to go. Tires are somewhat equivalent. And we'll have to see now if Gasly has what it takes to attack Stroll and get ourselves up a little bit further up in the point order here. Now, there has already been a few incidents here. I know Sainz has had a spin. Minor spin didn't really cost him anything because of the red flag. But we could potentially see him causing a little bit of mayhem as well. So this isn't really over yet by no means. But you can see that Stroll, Sainz, they've already created a 1 second gap to us. So we're going to struggle here. We need to get back into DRS if we're going to do anything. On the positive side, we have broken DRS to the Williams. So we'll have to see if we can actually get anything at all done. And honestly, I don't think we are. 2 seconds now, basically. 1 lap to go. I don't see us getting anything but 7th here. And we're going to need a crash to get anything more out of this race. But Leclerc seems to be in a position to at least steal a couple of points off the Red Bulls. That would be good for us. It does. We do end up 7th though, so soft tires probably would have been a better choice. Then again, 7th is acceptable. Shame with Ocon that he did have that crash. But Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Stroll, Alonso, then Albon, Hulkenberg, and Norris. So not a good weekend here from the Mercs, as you can see. Now, on our side, we did have a double pit stop trouble. Not that it really mattered for the end result, but it is worrisome that we kind of hit that double trouble threshold, so to speak. But yeah, what I want to have a look at now is, of course, Ocon's car, and he's absolutely destroyed it. That is the gearbox gone. He is going to need a new engine this year, for sure. The RS is almost gone, so yeah, that was a pretty bad crash. That was a really, really bad crash, and that means that we are going to have to probably slow down on development towards the end of the season. It's not going to be a big deal, but we are definitely going to have to prepare ourselves for needing a full set of extra components for 8.5 million, so that's going to suck a little bit. Not much we can do about that now, though. Yeah, lost about 25% engine, lost about 25% ERS. 60-ish% on the gearbox compared to Gasly. So definitely not good. I think we can give Bernard a little bit of a boost there. But yeah, do we have anything on the calendar before we go into Australia? We don't. So we'll speed up to Australia, then we'll have a quick look at the parts we manufactured and how our car stacks up going into the third race of the season. So here we are. We're comparing Ocon's car, which has a new chassis, the new side pods, and a new suspension. And if we take a look at it right now, it is the best car in high-speed corners. It is the third best car in medium speed, fourth best car in low speed. Basically, sixth best car in top speed. But even then, it's still looking good. We are going to be getting that rear wing, which is going to give us an extra kph. And we still have that underfloor too, which is going to not really give us any top speed, but going to give us a lot of cornering. So it's still looking good. We have a slight advantage here on the Red Bulls, so I do have some hopes for this race. We're not far behind them on kph either, if we consider the fact that we're going to get basically 0.9 from the rear wing itself. So development-wise, we're still looking very, very good here. But yeah, we're going to jump into Austria. We'll see how we do there. Maybe we can get the 5th, 6th, maybe 4th, a lucky podium even. So let's see how things go here. With our first 3 upgrades here, Ocon pulled off a pretty impressive feat, getting to the top 3 for quali. Gasly 3 tenths behind, well 2.5 tenths really, down in 8th, but it was a wet qualifying that probably did have a huge effect on this. As you can see, Paris beat Verstappen by 4 tenths, so qualifying probably isn't very representative. This one, at least, as I said, just one run really on the soft tire. Ocon might have gotten lucky. As you can see, currently we are somewhat ahead of both Mercedeses, as they managed to just not do a run after it dried up towards the end of the session. You can see that by the fact that they're 4 seconds slower than us. So a very, very weird session, all things considered. So we've had a pretty decent start here. Ocon, after that brilliant qualifying, is in 5th. Gasly's made its way to 10th. But we'll have to see how this develops. Ocon is getting some benefit right now by the fact that he's following the Aston Martins, as Russell had a bit of an incident there, getting overtaken. But we are going to be seeing rain within just a couple of minutes here, which could make things a little bit more interesting. And if we take a look at the expectations here, it's going to be probably inters for large parts of this race before we go dry towards the end. So we're just pushing these tires as much as we can, trying to get some overtaking done before the rainy period. I don't see us getting any overtakes done during the rainy period. So we'll have to see now how the weather here is going to, treat us. So far, though, it looks like Ocon is handling the new upgrades pretty well. Gasly, not so much. Remember, they have equal cars at the moment. So, bit of a weird situation, although, let's be perfectly honest here. Ocon does have a newer engine and newer gearbox than Gasly, but that shouldn't account for this much difference in performance. Now, in terms of the rain here, it is going up very, very slowly, so we're probably going to stay on these tires for another couple of laps. And what I am thinking we're going to do here is we're going to try with Ocon and see if we can stay with Alonso while doing just a little bit of harvesting. So we might get the overtake done with DRS basically right before we go into the pits here. We just want to have a little bit of energy available to get that done. Gonna try and harvest a little bit in the last few corners here. And as long as it doesn't get too far ahead, we should be good. Now, Ocon is a little bit too late here to jump in. We are 63 millimeters. It is going up fairly rapidly at this point. So I think what we're going to do instead is actually gamble with Gasly, because we see Leclerc, Alonso, both of them has actually opted for jumping into the pits early. So we'll try the same here with Gasly and see if that benefits him, or if we are going to be suffering as a result. We even do come out here ahead of the Breeze, which is quite big. And Stroll has also now overtaken us with the help of DRS. That does put us in a bit of a pinch here. I'll be perfectly honest. And in terms of temperature here, again, we probably do want to try and stay on these tires until the end. So I'm gonna allow Gasly to push here, deploy everything that he has to try and jump some of the cars that hasn't pitted yet. But we'll have to see how that actually does turn out. Ocon here now is going to come out in 6th, most likely. Going to get jumped by both of the Astons. We did make a mistake there
DRS
with the
is
timing.
disabled.
But I think what we have
So back
done
up.
now is kind of settled in into 6th and 7th. So you could argue that at the turn time, we are probably, as I said before the race, 4th, 3rd, maybe quickest team. Drivers aren't as skilled as the top 3 teams. So we're getting there. Once we get that rear wing, once we get the actual underfloor in the car, I think we're going to be way more competitive. But for now, we're just going to try and tidy, or rather, survive this rain. And then we will start making some moves probably once we get back to dry tires. Try and see if we can get close to the Astons and maybe jump them. And we now have a safety car,
Another car went off.
as I believe Stroll has had a bit of an incident.
Possibly
This
have
could
some
be a red
debris.
flag, actually, because he's parked in the middle of the
The
track.
car.
He's okay.
But that does remove one of the Astons from the equation. Sorry about the noise, just moving in my seat. But yeah, I'd argue that's probably more of a red flag than just a safety car,
Look at the
potentially.
team there. They all
If it slid just slightly further, probably would have been.
And safety car.
But yeah, we are having a little bit more rain on the track right now, 2 millimeters, which is why we've turned up the aggression. As you can see, the
Let's
tires
concentrate on our normal procedures.
are being saved quite a bit. But this is going to allow us to potentially here launch a bit of an attack on the restart, and that is going to be what we'll be aiming for. If Ocon can jump Alonso, that would be amazing. I kind of doubt that's going to happen, but as you can see, it's still less than 10 or so laps until we are going to go back to the dries. And in our case, I think with, let's say, 18 laps dry tires, what exactly are we going to end up using? Could we use a soft tire for 18 laps on full attack? Is that going to be quicker? Not really. But we're going to put in or set up some strategies here. We'll take a look at what would be more efficient. The medium tire can be used full attack. It would be about 5 seconds quicker. The question here becomes then, can we get another 5 seconds out of these? And I think the answer to that would be no. So medium tire is probably going to be the better option here. And just for argument's sake, what if we do hard tire full attack, 2 seconds slower than the medium one, but we do have a little bit more to go on? So it's a tough choice to make. I think the key here is just going to be potentially actually running the softs on light and then go full attack for the last 8 laps, maybe. That could be what we do. So we have a couple of choices here for later, but for now, we're just going to allow this raining period to run its course and see how we do on the restart.
Okay, so
Safety car is ending,
Okay, so
but
restart, we got the overtake
the
available.
rainy period has ended. And with that, we have a little bit of a tough choice to make here, in the sense that, well, Paris has already gone in for the mediums. He might actually be onto something here. But yeah, the idea here is going to be basically, do we want to jump in immediately, or do we want to wait a little bit? Now, in terms of track details here, it's going to get drier before lap 40. By the looks of this, maybe lap 35 is where we'd like to jump in. Go on to probably a hard tire at this point, or a light soft. I think that would be key. But I'm a little bit unsure. Do we want to push with Ocon? Do we want to have him go all the way now with energy, or do we want to save the energy? And I think we're going to do that. We're going to save the energy for when we actually do pit, so we can push on the outlap, get heat into the tires, probably jump those who are a little bit slower to pit. And that's going to be the hope here. Paris, as you can see, is holding up the cars behind quite a bit. But we'll have to see if he... The thing here is, he might still have made a genius idea, as Verstappen and Leclerc now take each other out by looks of things. Safety car deployed. Okay. This is it. We're going to double stack. We're going to get both cars in, and we're going to make a decision here. We have a safety car. Verstappen, Leclerc has had a bit of a moment. Gasly's going to suffer a little bit because, well, the others are going to jump him. But there's no reason not to jump in right now. The question is just, what is the best strategy for us? And I'm a little bit excited, a little bit hectic here, because we need to make sure that we survive till the end on these tires. And if we jump in like this, light soft, we'll be able to get it somewhat heated on the safety car, meaning that it is actually a good idea. That should be decent. Or we do a standard medium tire, actually quicker, as you can see, and you will have more tire towards the end. Medium seems like the better option. How about the hard? How is that going to behave? We can actually get to the end on it, and it is going to be the quicker tire, potentially. But I think medium is going to be best here. We're going to be running behind the safety car. We can run attack towards the end. So while the hard would be quicker on paper, we have to take into consideration that there is quite a bit of a, well, gap between them there. So we are going to jump in, go on the medium tire for both cars here, and we are going to hopefully be able to get this done. But yeah, what exactly happened here with Verstappen and Leclerc?
And it was involving Leclerc this time. The cars jostling for position.
Yeah, it's a slight touch.
That was pretty
Verstappen
risky.
got sent to the shadow realm.
For more than one.
And I think Leclerc is still running.
Safety car.
Still
Just
running in
positive on the
13th,
delta.
so half a front wing.
Okay, let's see if we can.
Yeah, this safety car is going to make things... Oh, I wanted to go down to 2 times. The safety car is going to make things interesting, and it looked for a second like Alonso was staying out, but I assume everyone except for Perez is going to pit. So let's see, did Perez make the best choice that he could? Magnussen, we do come out ahead of him. Let's see exactly where Gasly comes out. He is jumping some cars. He's in 5th. So all in all, Perez did benefit from pitting earlier. And Hamilton does jump us during the pit because of the double stack. But 3rd and 5th after the final pit stop, I think we can be happy with this. The thing now is we just have to take care of these tires. We have a lot of fuel. We can push a bit. We are going to be fighting till the end here for sure. Let's just see how things kind of look once we get to the end of this safety car period. The safety car is ending, and I think we are going to do just deploy from the get-go. I am tempted to turn this up to aggressive for the first lap, but I think taking care of these tires is going to be more important. We are currently on lap, I don't even know, close to lap 40, I believe, 37. So we'll be 38 once we cross the line. So we still need to take care of these tires somewhat as Alonso spins on the restart in the last corner. That's bizarre.
Yeah, what a mistake.
I agree, Alonso. What a mistake, eh? But yeah, that is actually a bizarre... That's a bizarre restart. That's the best way I can describe it. As you can see here, Russell is on a soft tire behind us. It's probably going to be dangerous, but at the same time, I think we'll be fine. Perez on all mediums. If he pushes these too hard, we could benefit. If everyone around us pushes these tires too hard, we could benefit. So it's a bit of an interesting Australian GP here, where we already, with just 3 upgrades on the car, could potentially snatch a 1-2. I don't think that's going to happen, though. Let's face it. Perez is probably going to be a little bit too quick for that. It's going to depend very highly here on how long Gasly gets held up by Hamilton. If we end up using too much energy, already you can kind of see there Ocon and Gasly, for that matter, having used their entire batteries. So I think Perez is most likely going to win here, unless he absolutely destroys his medium tires, so we can catch him later on. But both cars on the podium here is going to be a fight with the Mercs, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out, as Hamilton is still pushing a little bit on those tires. But yeah, I don't think Russell is going to have much tire left at the end of this. So I think what we're going to do here is settle in behind each Merc, try and catch up to Ocon and Hamilton in front for Russell and Gasly, recharge the batteries, and prepare for a late fight. Let's see if we can just maybe snatch ourselves a couple of podiums. Our dreams here might have come to a sudden end, and potentially a red flagged end, as Ocon has had an incident. He's currently parked in the center of the track. Sainz seems to maybe be involved. I can't actually see his front wing if it has damage. Looks maybe completely fine. Can't see. It looks like it's lacking a little bit on the right side there, but as you can see, we have a bit of a pile up here. Unfortunately, Ocon has sent it, and oh yeah, that's gonna be bad. That's one of the new chassis. That's a new side pod. That's a new suspension. That is also a new engine and a new gearbox. and a new ERS, I believe. No, that's probably the old one. I hope. I think that was the old one. But yeah, 3 races in, Ocon has already destroyed 2 engines.
Safety
This
car.
should be. Science is also out. Just a
Should be
red
well done
flag.
overtaking.
I don't even know what's happening at this
Straight
point.
onto
This has been one of the weirdest races that I've ever
Now let's
seen.
take a look here at turn 10.
What exactly happened with the
Cutting
Ocon?
it
He was
so
running yellow.
close.
Did he get...
And oh, that's obviously far from intentional.
Okay, I assume that
but
gave a
there
lot
was
of extra
contact.
damage then,
That would
but
have knocked their confidence, I'm sure.
Ocon could have taken out his teammate there. We could have had a double DNF.
The team-
Sainz was the unlucky attendee there instead of Gasly. Damn, that's concerning. Now, I think with just 13-ish, 14 laps to go, going over to soft tire is going to be the beneficial choice. We'll have to see exactly what we can do after this has been sorted. But yeah, a red flag.
The restart is moments away as the race continues.
I think this might need to be cut up into 3 episodes at this point. Because we're going to have a crash course in handling.
And away we go.
Yeah, handling a bad series of events. So running aggressive there should allow us to get to the end. We'll do attack for probably the first lap or so. Gasly is quite a bit slower than Ocon, surprisingly enough, and that is gonna most likely mean that we are not getting on the podium this time around. On the other hand, Ocon is gonna have a penalty next race out, which is gonna suck. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll just have to see how this goes, as Gasly immediately gets kind of jumped there by Magnussen. Gets the position back though. Confidence is very low, so he did indeed get touched by his teammate. Just everything that could go wrong towards the end of this did. We had a brilliant opportunity, and then we kind of threw it away. Now, before we do the rest of this race, I want to do another look at our strategy, and the idea here is very simple. What would be the best choice for us? Is it running the softs on aggressive? Is it running it on standard? Full attack is viable somewhat. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to go a couple of laps now, 47, 45, 46, 47 maybe, on aggressive just to be on the safe side. And then we're going to go ahead and turn it up to just full attack till the end. We have almost 10 kilograms of excess fuel at this stage because of the incidents. We're also going to try and, honestly, I think we're just going to have to try and attack. As long as we stay with Hamilton here, running aggressive is fine, but we're going to have to try and attack fairly early, so I want to take care of a little bit of the fuel. As we have another yellow flag, as show that just has a lockup this time around. Nothing too serious. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting end to this race, and we had so much happen that, as I said, maybe, just maybe, we'll have to turn this into a three-parter this season. But yeah, Gasly there. I think this is when we allow him to start the attack. And the DRS say between the Mercs are actually good enough that they are pulling away from us. So we're going to have to deploy a little bit, because if we lose that DRS, I don't think we're getting it back. So yeah, if they start just back and forthing now, I think we're going to be in a bad spot. And already Gasly has lost the DRS. And as I said, I don't think we're getting it back. We're just outside the range here. But we'll keep on pushing. Hopefully they have a bit of a bad one, and then can catch up, recharge, and then try and fight for a podium towards the end. We are getting close to the end here now. 4th, we're currently running. We have Hamilton, Russell ahead. We are staying within DRS somewhat. We've also been able to recharge our battery. The question now is just, when do we try and launch an attack? Confidence still isn't high, so I don't really want to, turn that up. I feel like that would be a terrible idea. But I think an opportunity like this, when they are running side by side, is actually going to be what we have to look for, because next time one of them gets DRS, hopefully they'll be able to fly by and we can just kind of stay with them. That's going to be the hope, at least. And maybe, just maybe, we have a small opportunity here for Gasly as he overtakes Russell. And now next up we are going to be facing Hamilton. But honestly, I'm happy with staying behind Hamilton in this DRS straight. If we can keep this position, that's actually pretty good. because I think if we do an overtake, we're just going to get re-overtaken again pretty much immediately. So staying in third until the last couple laps here is probably going to be the way to get this done. I think we have enough energy where we don't need to recharge. And if Gasly wants to launch an attack, I'm going to allow him on his own. And then we'll just turn up the battery after that. But yeah, I think at the end of this next lap is when we start attacking. Lap 57. That gives him 2 laps to get it done. In terms of tire, we are basically equal. So that is not a concern. But yeah, I think at the end of this lap is when we give him the energy to try attacking. As again, confidence isn't giving him any favors here. So we'll speed it up. Last few corners, we'll put the DRS on overdrive. We are almost leaving Russell behind her as well, which would be huge. But we're going to give energy now. Let's see, can we, over the course of the main straight, get enough speed, get enough push in that we probably overtake him in the second zone, maybe? I think we can get it done. And we are now pushing away from him. But I'd like to have some energy to defend with on the final lap. Might just be that we made this move a lap early, we'll see. But second, I'd be happy with that, but we are going to be very, very concerned with Ocon. And, of course, the damage that he has inflicted on our team so far this year. And as you can see, we're actually kind of leaving Hamilton behind it already, so I think we're just going to allow the deployment to happen right here. Or rather, he's so far behind we should be safe, so we'll just save it for the second half of this lap. Final lap now. Perez is going to be the winner here. His strategy of pitting early definitely did benefit him. But I think at this point is where we just start deploying and use what we have left of our battery to just extend that gap. But remember, our car excels in high-speed corners. It's not very good at low-speed corners. So using the high-speed corners to create the gap there to the Mercs is going to be the way to get things done. And we have already gotten outside of DRS range for Hamilton, as Gasly now will be coming in and taking a podium. Our first podium for the Alpines in Australia.
Checker flag.
It's a shame though, if Ocon didn't have his adventure, potentially we could have fought for 2 cars on the podium. But yeah, the main concern now is going to be the damage and how we're going to handle this over the course of the season. I think it's going to vastly cut into our development budget for the latter half, basically saying that once we reach Belgium, we're probably going to be done with development. But we'll see. We'll have to have a look at the financials for it. So second place for us, very good. The Mercs third and fourth. Then we have the Ferrari in fifth. The 2 Hasses both scoring points as well. McLaren, AlphaTauri with Tsunoda, Alonso. Even with that spin from the lead, did still manage to get 6. So all in all, not the worst outing ever. We're still in fifth, but gained a ton of points here. In terms of the pit stop rewards, we're not doing too well, 6th place, but let's face it, it is a-okay. We're taking a look at the pit stops. Basically plan right now, just check fatigue and things like that, but yeah, we have a couple of concerns going towards Baku. So I want to take a quick look at Ocon's car. We're missing basically everything. The powertrain, the engine here, as you can see, this one we can use next race, but I don't like using yellow engines, so what I'm thinking we do is probably just break the seal on everything. Again, he's already broken 2 gearboxes in 3 races. So we're going to break the seal of everything so that if we have a bad quali anywhere, we can take penalties. Baku is probably not a worse place to take penalties, honestly. But at the same time, we'll have to deal with that later on. A front wing has failed, that's not really a big deal. What we are going to be focusing on now is, of course, the development. We have 3 designs finishing. All of these we want to kind of manufacture before the next race. And it's going to be difficult to get that done. Because, well, suspension, we're going to need at least 1 more before Baku. So let's get that started. And the last slot here I want to use for the underfloor. The underfloor is going to be the last slot here. We do need a side pod as well. Might as well just get that started. And then we might just need to rush the underfloors. We'll see. But yeah. Ocon, not a very good start to this season at all. Okay, month has ticked over as well. Let's take a quick look here. Well, you've become a little bit better at cornering. Yes, I guess that's what it is. But again, I don't understand exactly why. I guess it would be the accuracy in that case. Why Gasly is so much slower than Ocon? Why he's struggling? Accuracy might be a little bit better than I had given it credit for in the past. We'll see over the course of this year. But yeah, let's go ahead here. Set up the pit crew. I am gonna get this sorted really, really quick. Currently, we are basically well rested. We didn't get too much fatigue over the course of the Australian GP. So we're going to set this up, try and keep the pit stop time where it is, but lower the chance of mistake. This is what we're going to do in terms of the pit stops. As you can see here, we lowered the chance of mistake by 0.5%, but we do get a little bit quicker in the pit stop time. And we also keep car building kind of where it is. I'm happy with this. It's pretty balanced. I think we'll just do it like this for the time being. I'm going to go ahead and confirm these changes. And that should be a-okay. Now, fatigue-wise, we should be good too. It said 34 there, but that's mainly just due to the fact that that's what we're going to have at the end of the month after Baku. But yeah, we'll have to see what we do here with, again, Ocon's car. Not much we can do. For now, though, we're going to get these designs completed. The underfloor we're going to start making as soon as we can. Again, this is going to be a fairly huge boon to our cars. Boosts us 3 places in low speed, 5 places medium, but that is car 1, I believe. So we'll see what we stack up once we get everything done. Now, in terms of what we want to make after this, the underfloor, I don't know if we want to make another one immediately. I think what we might want to do here is instead to make a chassis variation that is just top speed or high speed cornering, as well as medium speed cornering and subcooling. Well, this is car 1 performance, which isn't really representative. This is basically what we'll be doing. We'll be losing a lot of top speed, so could do this. But yeah, basically make a variation that isn't for top speed tracks, but just for cornering tracks, while growing expertise. There are a few things we could do, but again, financially, I am a little bit worried already, and that is genuinely the thing I'm most concerned about. So, side pod wise, we can make a new one that is going to be a lot better than one that we currently have on car 2. And I think that's kind of what we're going to be working towards. We're going to make a couple of this one just for the expertise gain. And I think that is a acceptable way of doing things for the time being. Again, we are kind of financially strained. And we will be financially strained for a little while. Front wing design is complete. We also got the chassis manufacturing complete here, which is going to allow us to start manufacturing the underfloor. This thing needs to be made in time. 17 days. That should be fine, honestly. It should be fine if we get it done in 17 days. We're also going to go ahead and just get 3 of them made. This is the final edition, if you will, underfloor. So it'll get the job done. Just go ahead and make them normally. And the front wing, we did use safety time on. So we're going to have to make another one pretty much immediately here. And we're once again just going to toggle car 2 performance here to see what we can expect. Let's see, do I want to do this? This way we get a lot of medium, we get a lot of low, which is kind of what we are somewhat missing, and it's going to be key for the next race. I think we're going to sacrifice a little bit of the medium. Sorry, a little bit of low to get more medium. Brake cooling will stay where it is, which is also good. So this one will get the job done. We're going to go ahead and rush it, put in all the engineers on it. It'll get done in 20 days, which means we can rush 1 front wing for the race itself. But at the very least, we'll have them before Miami. So that is acceptable. Now, just going to double check here. Manufacturing, we are working on that. After sidewall and suspension here, we're going to be making front wings. We're going to be making rear wings. And that should be good. So, yeah, I think we are fine at the moment. We have a new regulation vote here as well coming in. Reduced factory event obligations. We are going to cancel them. That's going to give us more manufacturing capability. We like that. And for the regulation change here, if you want to have a bit more competition, low speed wing change is probably what you want to vote for. Basically, it's either 30% for low speed or 30% for high speed, then 20% for medium. So it's not a big deal no matter which way you go. Now, the rear wing design is complete, and this one is going to be quite important. We're just going to go ahead and get 4 of them made. We are going to be making a CFD version of it at one point, but for now, I'm not too concerned. I think maybe starting to work on the chassis would be a good idea, honestly. Just start boosting the chassis a little bit. I think we can sacrifice the engine cooling and boost the other two, like just the expertise gain, and then we can make something a little bit better later on. It's pretty cheap to do it too at just 700,000, so we'll go ahead and put a chassis expertise gain project in motion. Now, the last thing that we need to manufacture is, of course, going to be that front wing. I'm going to be making, I think, just 2 of these. Maybe 3. I think 3 is good for now, because we might end up using that other front wing pretty immediately. So I guess I'll just make 2 for now, and we'll make a decision when we get closer to the race weekend itself. But the thing here is we need to keep this slot open for basically this front wing design. But yeah, we'll speed up until we get there, and then we'll see what kind of decision we make. Ocon has made this a little bit harder for us. The suspension design we made for basically growth purposes has finished, and we are going to go ahead here and make another one. Or rather, we're going to hold off on making another one because I want to use CFD time on it now that I have thought things through. It should just be 5 days a week until we get that, so we'll keep that slot open for now. We are getting a new one with that front wing, however, so what do I want to do? Do I want to start working rear wing? Do I want to start working underfloor? I think actually what we want to do here is probably just keeping the slot open, because as I said, Ocon has already destroyed 2 engines. He's most likely going to need another 2 engines by the end of this year. So it does put us into a bit of a worrisome situation, is the best way I can describe it. So I think we just keep this design slot open for the time being. I don't imagine us getting much gains from the underfloor. In that case, what we would want to do instead would be the rear wing to basically keep on working on that, maybe. That would be the only thing. And if we want to do that, getting a little bit more cornering on it probably wouldn't be a terrible idea. Yeah, I think that's what we do. We still have a lot of cost cap remaining, 90 million or so. So since we are going to be a CFD using on the rear wing next, what I'm thinking is that we just do a normal projects here, get the expertise up a little bit on the cornering aspect, and then we can CFD just the top speed and the DRS later on. So that's what we're going to do. And then we'll just keep the front wing slot open instead. That should get the job done, hopefully. Now, front wing design is complete. It is a sprint weekend, so we need to have this done before the race weekend if we want to use it, which means if we rush one, we can get it in time. And I think we are going to do that. It's going to cost us some brake cooling, which could lead to more incidents. So I'm thinking we give this to Gasly, maybe? But yeah, we're going to rush one, and it is going to potentially lead us to needing to emergency manufacture one over the course of this race weekend, but it is a risk that I'm willing to take. So let's speed up here, 2 days until we get that. Front wing manufacturing has been completed, and what I'm also thinking we do here is probably start the manufacture of more of that front wing. So let's make 2 more. At the very least, probably 3. Let's just get 5 cooking at this point. The only risk with this... Okay, let's just do 2 for now. The only risk for this is that we might need to cancel it and emergency manufacture if we have an incident with Gasly. So it's not completely safe, if you will, but it should get the job done. We'll also get another side pod started. And as I said, we'll just leave this slot open because front wing, underfloor, suspension. Well, this slot is basically open for the suspension. Yes, I confused myself there for a second. I was wondering. But yeah, it's open for suspension for safety time. I am slightly tired, which is not really helping. But yeah, Baku is probably the last we're going to do in the start of the Alpine because just so much happened in Australia. So let's just get the piece on the car, and then we'll compare car 2 to the rest of the grid to see kind of what we can expect. I think we are getting to a point now where we have underfloors. We have every single part here now on both cars, C2, R2, 3, 3. I think we are good. So install on both cars, car 2, that's fine. Both cars, both cars, and both cars. So cars are set up now. Let's see how we are stacking up against the rest of the grid. We're going to be using car 2 here as our, well, show car. And if we take a quick look, we're 8th in top speed. We're 1st in the 3 cornering categories, 2nd in DRS effectiveness. I would assume that our car 1 is the first. And if we take a look at Red Bull, we are still about 0.75 kph behind, a little bit more than that. We are lacking acceleration, but we are better than at DRS. We have a slight low speed, medium, and high speed advantage. So yeah, it looks like our car is getting somewhat competitive, but we're going to have to try and avoid crashing as much as we have if we want to have any chance of beating them at the end of the season. We are 90 points, 80 points-ish behind. Let's go into Baku. It's going to be the final thing we do before we cut off this first part. Let's see if we can maybe take our first race win here, as I would hope. But yeah, could be that Verstappen is just as strong. We'll have to see. So qualifying here did not go as well as we'd hoped, with Alonso putting in 3rd, Ocon 4th, and Gasly 7th. We had once again a case of better lap times in Q2 than we did in Q3. Basically, our Q2 time would have put us in 3rd. So that is a bit frustrating. Ocon here did improve slightly all the way, but he also is lacking that front wing. So we'll have to see how that actually does play out. Now, we have gone ahead here and kind of broken the seal on virtually everything that both cars have in case we do have a crash. And here's the thing, as long as this is orange instead of red, you can actually use it to kind of skip a quote-unquote skip a practice. Particularly on sprint weekends, it can be a good idea. When you're already locked in, you can't change your setup anymore. Keep in mind, though, that that's most likely going to lead to you getting 2 of your softer compounds getting returned after the practice. But for us, that's not really a big deal, so we're just going to go ahead and simulate it like that. It's not really a big problem, and we'll have to see how we do here. Now, Verstappen is going to be eating the same kind of penalty that Ocon is, so we'll have a little bit of a fight there with him coming up from behind. Now, for this sprint here, we've already had a tremendous amount of incidents already this year, so I'm wondering what exactly we should be expecting. Should we go in for the fact that there is going to be another incident? It can very well happen. Do we want to play a little bit safer with the medium tire? Which one do we want to do? And honestly, I think just playing a little bit safer with the medium tire is good for us as well, because, well, we have a tendency to get in trouble, and we also have decent chunk of medium tires remaining, the exception here being Gasly, but we can just turn a soft tire to medium around this place for the race itself if we need to, so it's not really a big deal. We're going to be pushing the sprint here. Let's see if we can maybe get a little bit further up the order for the race on Sunday. But yeah, it's been a rough start to this year. So we should be seeing Verstappen there behind Gasly. And hopefully here we can get that confidence a little bit further back up, because that is kind of a problem for us and has been a problem for quite a while. At least we have a somewhat decent start here, even though Verstappen is immediately challenging us. We do get that place back, so we'll be working through the sprint, as I said, trying to gain positions. Ocon's up into 3rd right now, and we'll be doing our best here to get, hopefully, a little bit of a better starting position for come Sunday. We're getting to the end of the sprint here, and while we unfortunately could not catch Perez, Gasly did manage to make his way up into 2nd place. Ocon is down in 4th. Unfortunately, again, no incidents that really forced any mayhem here. It's a very straightforward event.
So checker flag is out.
And Verstappen down in 7th. This is still, I'd argue, a pretty decent result for us as such. Just a shame that we couldn't get the double podium here, and of course catch Paris as well. If we had a little bit better qualifying, probably would have looked a lot better around here. But yeah, now we have the race itself. Ocon is going to be eating a penalty. We'll have to see just how far back he gets demoted. And should be a 5th place, yeah. Down into 8th, which means that Verstappen should be starting 12th. And we'll have to make a choice here on how we want to handle said situation. And I think maybe, just maybe, going full attack on a medium and then going onto a lighter soft tire could be the play here. Or we go full attack on a soft from the get-go, we go into a medium that we also go full attack on, and then we finish off with a, well, rather aggressive soft stint as well. That would be the other option. And, well, as you can see, it is potentially 13-second quicker. There's not really going to be any strategies that are going to be a lot quicker than it, I think. The only other options would be to try something, say, like this. Medium full attack into a hard full attack, which is still 8 seconds slower, but quicker than our base strategy. So I think we'll do a variation of this for both cars. We'll put Ocon on soft, medium, soft. And for Gasly, we'll put him on medium, soft, soft. That should be fine, I think. And it should give us the best chances of getting points, basically. Or the race win, more like it. But yeah, hopefully we can get this confidence up a little bit pretty early on, because confidence is a bit of a problem for us. But I think this, as I said, strategy is going to be the best option available to us. It is, however, Baku, red flags, safety cars, virtual safety cars could throw some wrenches into our plans. But this is the best that we have available to us. And for Ocon, he does have an extra medium. Gasly has no such thing, so he's going to be in a little bit more trouble. But with the amount of softs that he has available, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Let's jump into Baku here and see if we have a good race or a tragedy. And immediately at lap 5, we have our first incident involving Sainz and Stroll. Can even see us in the background there. But yeah, luckily for us, just a light hit, nothing that throws any plans out the window. It does, however, promote Ocon to 5th place. And Gasly, who had a really terrible start here, is still going to try and get a little bit of attacking done. We're still with Perez and Alonso though, so it's not all bad. But he did have a pretty miserable start, falling from 2nd to 4th. Now we're back up into the podium place. But yeah, good start for us. Let's see if we can keep this going. And immediately after, we've had yet another incident, this time between the AlphaTauri and the Haas. Bit more brutal this time around. Basically, that was a bit more brutal for the Haas, let's be perfectly honest. Gasly is still fighting with Leclerc here, however. Leclerc on the soft tyre has a little bit of an advantage. But it's not really helping the confidence at all, this fighting, unfortunately. So I think what we're going to do is just settle in behind, recharge the battery, and then try and launch another attack.
Now this was at turn 3.
Gasly has gotten things done after doing the battery recharge. Got Leclerc on the previous lap, and on this lap he got a double overtake into the DRS zone. So Gasly definitely back into it. Ocon has caught up now to Leclerc, and we are getting to a point now where both cars are going to be able to start fighting for the podiums. As Verstappen also has gotten his way past Russell, so he's gonna probably start catching up to us a little bit. We'll have to see. Gasly has just about broken the DRS. We'll have to see if he can keep that lead going. And we have a virtual safety car. Luckily, both of our cars seem to be fine. Gasly has been caught out. It's actually Russell who is out. And I think this is going to be our chance to pit. Now, Verstappen, it seemed to be safe there. I assume this is a spin, and then just completely destruction of the rear into the wall. That is kind of what would make sense. And I think on this, we are just going to go ahead here and do a little bit of the double stacking. We'll save a bit of time doing that, as if we take a quick look at the time consideration, we save about 5 seconds by pitting under a virtual safety car rather than safety car. And I think we'll be able to save that by just pitting onto these soft tires a little bit earlier. We can go ahead and just run them light for Gasly until we get to the until lap 20 when we turn them back up to attack. So we're going to go ahead and double stack. I don't think anyone else is going to be doing it. So let's see, where exactly can we expect to come out? 15 seconds. So just maybe Gasly beats Verstappen out. We'll see. For Ocon, he's going to come out between Verstappen and Stroll. Most likely, that is provided, of course, that Gasly does not have any problems with his pit stop. That he's in and out in 3 seconds, tops. So let's see how this let's see how this pans out for us. Gasly, bit slow, is going to come out behind Verstappen, however. Bit unfortunate there. But I'd say this is a good trade. We get basically a free pit stop. Well, not really free. We get a cheaper pit stop. And we get it just as the virtual safety car is ending. Now, for the most of these other cars, it seems like they're going to be doing a one-stop. So that is going to be playing into our choices a little bit. I think, as I said, we just run Gasly here more on standard, allow him to get heated into the tires, and then we'll tune him up in a couple laps time. Everyone else has now pitted their first pit stop. Alonso is the latest pitty, so to speak, Perez basically. But as you can see, they're going to be staying on these tires till the end. We have about a 12-second gap at the moment. Pit stops here take around 20, but let's face it, once we go on to our final stint, we should be relatively quick, and you can even see Dag is far lower for Gasly than we anticipated, which is due to his high smoothness. So for him, this is looking very, very good at the moment, and honestly, Verstappen still needed to pit. So I think we are most likely going to come out on top here, unless Alonso has a mega stint. As you can see, he is fairly quick at the moment. So we'll have to see how this goes. I do believe we might be losing a little bit of time from fighting, so potentially we might have to do a little bit of work here, but I also do believe that they're pushing their tires a little bit more than maybe what's advisable at the moment. So we'll see. We're going to have a little bit of fight on the hands towards the end here.
Okay.
Now
Ocon keeps this bad rep going as he just, I believe, straight up runs into the wall. Basically just skidding it, but at the same time, not great. Didn't cost him any confidence though, so don't know if it actually counts as a crash or not. But we are getting to the point here now where we are going to be pitting, and we are going to be going full attack till the end. So I think for Ocon, we're going to be extending it one more lap before we do pit. I did not want to do that. I wanted to pit on next lap onto a soft tire, like so. So he'll be pitting next lap. Gasly pits this lap. And that will get them a little bit separated as well. But yeah, Perez, Alonso, both of them have been catching up pretty rapidly here. Even, well, not using much tire, and that is a bit concerning. So maybe they have been fighting a little bit too much, Ocon and Gasly. They've actually got that kind of dynamic in the game where we might actually be forced to separate them quite aggressively. But yeah, Gasly's going to come out in 50. He's going to have a little bit of fight ahead of him. Same can be said for Ocon. But I think we might beat Verstappen. We'll have to see if we can catch back up to Paris, though. Another case of hello darkness, my old friend, as Ocon has, once again, crashed a car. This time, suspension, rear wing, and chassis has been eliminated, as well as a gearbox. And I do think this isn't a new engine, but this is a new ERS. I already hate this playthrough. I think what we might need to do here is do a complete redesign of every part where we only focus on brake cooling. We are going to also have a quick look at Ocon later on and go deep dive into his control stat. Because this is kind of interesting. He had high confidence, he has low aggression, rarely defend. His tire heat is high, let's face it. But it's still far short away from 120, which would be, you know, severely overheating. So it's not terrible. The brake temp. What is this man's brake temp as it crashed? 700 degrees. So brake temp does also not seem to be an issue. Yeah. I think we're just having a very, very bad set of circumstances where Ocon has decided to go 3 for 3. Gearbox damage on Gasly's car is just from where. We're also going to be seeing the same here for the engine. But yeah, this is a very frustrating start to the season. And if he now also adds insult to injury by summoning a safety car, I think he did, I'm going to be extra angry.
But this is what happened. So here we go, heading into turn 1. Oh, and
He pulled a Russell. The exact same move, more or less. And I believe he did summon a VSC at least. So that's going to make catching up to Paris even more difficult.
Virtual safety car. Positive on your delta.
And if we're extra unlucky here, the restart is going to be on the main straight, which means that we're going to lose a ton of time to everyone else. Yeah, my frustration is evident, and my weekend has been ruined. If you can't hear it in my voice. But yeah, I think we are going to end the first part here. We're going to have to make this into a 3-parter just because of what's happened. Luckily for us, we do get the restart in a good spot, so we don't lose too much time. But backmarkers are making it difficult for us to actually overtake Leclerc. That's not actually a joke, it is actual fact. Leclerc's been getting DRS for the last 4 or so chances that we've had from backmarkers like Show, Piastri, and it's just made it miserable to try and catch him. But we have caught him now. Next up is going to be Alonso. We should have enough time to catch him, but even then it's going to be difficult. So I think what we do here is we are going to use DRS. We're going to go for fastest lap while catching Alonso, and of course Sargent there slowed us down a little bit, I do believe. Maybe not, we did get fastest lap. I'm just being very I'm just being a little bit salty right now, honestly. But yeah, our deck wasn't as bad as we thought. We could have done a medium to a soft tire here easily, I think, with Gasly. And as I said here, we're not getting Paris, I think, by the end of this. We are going to push to get Alonso, though. And that I do find to be viable with DRS, even without DRS. We actually gave Alonso DRS. Alonso being cheeky there. Now, 5 seconds, 4 laps, 1.5 second different last lap, but that was with energy. We don't have energy no more. We're also getting slightly held up. I actually think that that virtual safety car saved Paris, interestingly enough. We are gaining, still a second there last lap. I think we're gonna run out of laps before we run out of, before we get close enough to launch an attack. 3 seconds now. We gained 1.3 that last one. Yeah, unless Paris gets into an incident here, I think this is over. We're not gaining any time. We are going to get maybe a little bit DRS. We did not. So that is unfortunate. Second place here is going to be on the table. And I'm also going to just stop pushing so we don't run out of fuel here. But yeah, that is a frustrating Baku. The car is competitive now, at least. That is one thing. But financially, we are in ruin. As Show has himself a little bit of a crash here. But yeah, I think we might need to get a little bit more brake cooling onto our car. And that crash too is potentially a red flaggable one.
Has crossed the line first.
But yeah, Paris wins. We come in second. Verstappen comes in 5th. Ocon, once again, DNFs. And the worst part about Ocon's DNFs is the fact...
Really good strategy.
Did he just say Esteban P2?
Very good job.
I swear I heard Esteban P2, but it's Pierre P2. Esteban here just haunting my dreams at this point, but yeah. P2. Driver Championship, we are placed 4th. Constructors, we are placed 4th. 100 points now behind Red Bull. And again here, if we take a look at the drivers, Ocon, 3 DNFs in 4 races. And all of them, as I mentioned, pretty severe crashes. I don't know how we're gonna make a comeback of this one. I need to just get out of this so we can take a look at Ocon's damage. That's all I need to do here. Take a look at Ocon's damage, then call it a night and continue this next time. Miami is in 4 days. I don't think we have car parts for him. That's the thing. As you can see, we don't have a chassis. We do have a rear wing. That's fine. We do not have a... We actually do have a suspension. Thank God. I made an extra one of those. But powertrain-wise here, he did run that 55 engine, so it's not terrible in that regard. Well, it's still terrible. The ERS is absolutely destroyed at this point. He's used 150% of ERS in 4 races. The third gearbox is absolutely destroyed. I think I'm gonna just put him on the old chassis for the next race. Like he deserves it. He deserves to be running the old chassis here, just because of how much damage he suffered, honestly. We have to put him on the old chassis, because at this point he's suffered so much damage to the components. He's gonna need 2 engines by the end of this year. He's gonna probably need 2 ERSs. He's gonna need at least a couple of gearboxes. That's 16, 17 million worth of cost cap that is going to go immediately down the drain. And we'll only have one more chassis before Imola. Yeah, we're in shambles. This is actually being in shambles. At least we can get started on another suspension, most likely, before the start of next VP. We'll also get started on finally on the suspension here as well. But yeah, we are actually in absolute shambles. CFD time here for the suspension, and even this is going to be a very minor gain. We'll get more of it later on. I think we just have to invest in brake cooling here. Like we're crashing too much already. So this is what we'll do with CFD time. Should probably do something like this as a gamble. Excuse me, as a gamble. But I think we need to focus on... Yeah, this is better. We're going to focus on these 3, get this done. And we're going to rush this one as well. We're going to rush it, get it done in 18 days. Because we're already so far behind that we need to get something going our way. In another 2 months, we're going to do the rear wing. But the side post chassis, we're just going to do manually without anything. So we'll have to deal with that. I do sound defeated right now because I am. 84 control. That's not the problem. Braking accuracy, all of these should be good. Like if anything, this does make me quite worried. I think what we're going to do for Gasly, though, because he does seem to be slower, just straight up than Ocon, is that we're going to put him on something that will improve his accuracy as well. I think that might help. But yeah, how do you feel about this one? Three big crashes in 3 races for Ocon. At least it's not in the maximum weight category. At least it's this one. But yeah, that is basically been enough for me to say that we are going to end today's episode here. And we are going to be continuing sometime later. We're also going to be setting up the pit crew after Miami, as we are struggling a little bit with tiredness. But yeah, that is it. Hope you've enjoyed this first part of the 1 season challenge on hard with Alpine. I wish I could say that I've enjoyed it a lot as well, but honestly, I haven't. I was planning to try and, again, do this in 2 parts. But Ocon has decided that he wants more screen time. It's finally his chance to get some screen time, and he has decided that we are going to get as much as possible. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please like and subscribe, as that helps me out a ton. And I do hope to see you around next time. Sometime next week, probably on Friday, I am planning to get started with Maximum Weight Challenge. I think we are going to be wrapping up to maybe 3 series this week as well. So everything is kind of aligning towards that. And if not, maybe Sunday. We'll see. It should be out hopefully Friday. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.